What about dealing with other people? Like, how does a cynical optimist deal with rejection, for example?
Really important that if you're dealing with rejection, that you get the non-verbals correct. So that basically, so if someone's talking to you in a way that you don't want to listen to them, you make sure basically that you say, yes, I know what you mean. That's really important. Whatever they're saying to you, you need to go to a higher level. So if they're rejecting you, say your performance was really bad, then you go to a higher level. You're just saying that because you don't like me. You always find something that's not relevant to the context to use against them.
I think one of the best strategies is just to find everything they say offensive. So if they say, I'm not trying to be offensive, then you can say, so why are you using that word then? And they say, what word? And then you go, there you go again. And then they're kind of partly confused and partly scared. And if you're really good, you lay a guilt trip.
When someone tries to give you feedback, and in a very negative way, just look at them with sympathy and say, does someone need a hug? Because then they don't know where to go with that.
Well, there's also some other strategies. So for example, when people reject you, one way to be able to deal with that is to be able to reject the rejection, in that be aware of where it's coming from. So be aware of the source. Understand that wherever it's coming from, it's not necessarily coming from the right place. Sometimes it's coming from a lack of information. They don't have all the information. It's not about our worth or our value. So the pain comes from us saying, I'm not good enough. But instead, if you realize, it's that they might not have all the information they need in order to make the best decision for them and for you in that context.
Then they can be rejected purely because they're not in your bubble. They're in a different bubble. They don't want it. They don't care about it. They're not interested. They're at a different state, a different level, a different process. Not everybody, just because you may feel heart connected, heart bound to something, or you feel something is of strong value, it may be of no value to the other person. Doesn't mean they're bad. It doesn't mean that they deliberately rejected you. It could mean they deliberately reject you, but that's very often doesn't say anything about you. Very often it can say something about them, or it can just simply be that they're in a different model of the world, that they work from a different place. Are you being rejected, or is it your behavior that's being rejected? Is it your belief systems being rejected? Is it your values being rejected? And that's not who you are. You're more than that. Those values may not match. Your belief systems may not match. The behaviors may not even match as well. But those behaviors that you've been rejected for could be accepted somewhere else. It's only tough if you locate it and say, okay, I can't move beyond it. The reality is someone else, somewhere else will accept whatever it is you got to offer.
Yeah, I also think like one of the biggest problems we have is that we tend to reject ourselves before we get rejected by somebody else. So, for me, sometimes in my head, I'll already have taken on board the rejection. But whenever I ask someone for something, I'll do it, and in the same sentence, I'll give them an out. I'll be and I'm doing that in my own head because I'm thinking to myself, I want them to not feel under pressure, but I'm also doing it for myself to feel, right, well, if I give them an out, then there's not as much stakes there. That means that I'm not asking in the most effective way. If you're a salesperson and you give them the out all the time, then you won't expect to sell many things. So I think the key is not to give yourself the rejection first, not to preempt it.
Very often, we're the first to hold ourselves back. We're the first to do the judgment, Leslie. And I often say, well, you're only one person. How the hell do you know? Let the world decide that. Let the world do the rejection if it's going to happen. And I know it's for protection and all that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, you don't know what's going on in the other person's head. So you're better off to put yourself out there and find that.